Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Mike and Matt Show, brought to you by Alpha Funding. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Mike.
How's it going?
It's going real good. I'm very excited about today.
Ooh, tell me why.
We have a special guest here today. As you can see, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, we have our partner, David Hansel here.
I thought you said we had a special guest.
Oh, he's special. He's a funny guy.
Yeah, is he a funny guy? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to talk to Dave a little bit about his life, about his businesses, about obviously Alpha. That's what we're here for. We're going to talk about everything, real estate and everything in between. We're going to learn a little bit about him and what he does and all the little interesting bits that make him up. And I know a lot of people out there know him, so this is a way to maybe learn a little bit that you didn't know before. Yeah,
Dave. Dave has a very, like we all do, we all have unique backgrounds and how we get to where we are today. And we're really looking forward to going into some of that. I know Dave he started off, he was a diver, a collegiate athlete, and, has been through multiple businesses. So
no, you wouldn't know today.
You wouldn't know?
If you looked at him, I don't know if you know he was an athlete.
I think we all eat well and drink well. But yes, he was a collegiate athlete.
That's like me saying I was an athlete. You're gonna really look it up? I don't know. But
I
we're
could
gonna learn a
barely
lot.
touch my toes anymore.
But no, we're gonna learn a lot, and I think we should get right into it. I feel like there's a lot we have to cover.
All right, let's get right into it. So, Dave,
here we go.
I want to share with the audience, how did you get to this point? Obviously, we're gonna have to go through a lot, but I'm just gonna say at least relative to real estate, getting into real estate. How did you get from, high school Dave to now?
Should I try to explain that all in one breath, or you want me?
I don't know if we have enough time for high school Dave till now.
I'll just start after when I got into real estate. How's that?
Sounds good.
I was working up in Boston for 4 years out of college, and I was involved in the tech industry and project management and rollout of installations for software systems. So anyway, got laid off with the dot-com boom when it went bust. And I sat there and was thinking to myself, what am I going to do with my life? And so an old coach of mine from high school, his family owned a real estate company back in New Jersey. And he said, why don't you come back? He says, I'll mentor you. I'll get you started. And the other alternative was going to school to be a massage therapist. I'm like, this is really not a good idea. So I came back home, packed up, moved in with my parents at the time, and started selling real estate. I was doing both residential and commercial. And I was kind of, inspired early on. When you're younger and you don't have a lot of responsibilities, you can take on risks. So I started flipping houses as the market was moving up, partially because I was at an event, and the guy, one of the first seminars I went to, he said, if you're a broker, an agent in real estate, and you're not investing in the business and owning real estate, you should get out. And it's not true per se, but for me, it spoke. So I started flipping houses, met Mark. We partnered on some deals, started building some new construction. He actually had an opportunity to make a loan through a relationship that he had. On the subsequent loan, he's like, hey, you want to put some money in? And we started lending, brought some friends and family in. But the turning point was the mayor of my town was actually speaking at a conference for private lending. And we were on the fence about going. And had we not gone, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today. And the reason is that when we got there, we had this aha moment about how we could raise capital, how we can use software to ease the back end. And then we kind of grew over the years and, just dedicated to that space. Fast forward about 6 years ago, in addition to what we've been doing at Alpha and some personal investments that we've made on behalf of the company, we launched Lucern Capital Partners, which is a real estate private equity firm and owning and managing apartment buildings, mostly in the Carolinas and some stuff up in the Northeast and some warehouse. And things just kind of grow on itself. And interestingly enough, something new that I'm getting involved in is a tech platform that's going to service the real estate industry in a way, the investor real estate industry in a way that it hasn't before, and there's a gap or a need for it. So I've gotten involved in taking a board seat on that company, and Alpha is also going to be a part of the platform, providing capital for services. So that's kind of my.
I want to ask something really quickly. So, along the way, you've had many partners. You've had to work with partners along the way in many of these companies. You just said you're partnering up with another group. Just the importance of managing. Partnerships don't always go well. Partnerships, they can be great. They can go sideways. How has that been for you?
Well, I know you know the answer. I'll tell everybody else. It has its challenges. I'd say when you pull back, partnerships have been every part of my success. Every business comes with challenges and problems, but when you have other smart people around you that have a similar vision and goal, then things work out. Where it doesn't, and some of the partnerships that haven't, like on project specific things, it's generally because we didn't put the time and effort in and really, make sure that we were fully aligned. So it's like any relationship, but if you partner with the right people, the sky's the limit and it allows you to grow.
The reason why I was saying that is we were just talking before we were starting the podcast today. We had a real estate investor, one of our borrowers, that was looking to do a deal. And sometimes the only way to get across that bridge is through partnerships. And partnerships can help you open up doors that you've never been able to open up doors with. And at the same time, they can be extremely challenging.
So everybody's different. Some people can't do a partnership, others can. I think why I like it is that as you build a team and you have people that can stand, you have a life. You don't want to be a one-man band, and not that you would be, but by creating partnerships, rather than paying someone to come on your payroll, if you're partnering and sharing in profits, it helps protect your downside a bit. And so, and you can typically grow faster if you pick the right person. So
I kind of want to, I feel like we just took in a lot of information. So I kind of want to go back. I want to unpack a few things you already said, since you gave us a lot about your life until this point. So you told us a little bit about how you started in real estate. And one of the questions I like to ask people, especially who've been in real estate for a long time, what is it for you about real estate that made you want to stick into it? So you said that you were in Boston, you got laid off from your job. I've known, just so everybody knows, I've known David for like 15 years. So I know a little bit of his life story. So I know you're working for Marriott. You're in Boston, you get laid off from your job, you come back here to do real estate. You mentioned it just kind of like you needed to do something, so you came and you did it. But what made you stay in it? What is it about real estate for you that now, 15 years after the founding of Alpha, 20 plus years since you started being an agent, has made you want to stay in this field? Because I feel like that's important. Like, a lot of people are getting into it now. A lot of people come from other industries. They keep their day job. They're doing real estate on the side. But for someone who's committed the better part of his life to this field, like, what is it that's really said, I love this. I only ever want to do something that's this or around this or adjacent to it or something like that. Tell me your feelings there.
So there were definitely a lot of times over the years where I thought about jumping ship, and I think that's natural for anyone. I have a background in sports, and it's about dedication, hard work, and achieving things that you want and setting goals. So I find that real estate allows me to do that, and you can have both short and long-term wins. There's so many different aspects of the business that you can be involved in. And my career, I've been involved in so many different aspects, which really, for me, I get enjoyment out of that. And then as business went on and we became successful, I do get a lot of reward out of helping other people or sharing knowledge. And so that's been a very rewarding part of what I do, and fills a cup that, hadn't been filled in the past. So, there are times it's tough, but in general, I like, the diversity of what you can do. There's ability to make really good money if you work hard at it. That's also attractive. They say you can have a flexible lifestyle, and work-life balance. I call BS on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And you know, spent a lot of time. Certainly, certain years, I was, you know, working like all the time, and maybe if I could go back, I would dial that back a little. But you know, it all kind of brought us to where we are today.
I like what you just said about the work-life balance. So many people have the impression that if you're in real estate, you can create flexibility in your life. But every time I've spoken to somebody, whether it's somebody that's getting into real estate as a realtor, or if you're a mortgage professional, whatever it may be, it is a full-time job. I'm talking about full life job. You don't ever turn it off.
Right.
So,
I mean, the only way to make a lot of money and not have to put a lot of effort in is to win the lottery. And so outside of that, everything else takes work. There's headaches, there's ups and downs, roller coaster rides. Like, you know, we kind of joke sometimes with, you know, the younger folks getting involved in the business and industry. The generation, what generation would you call that? The Gen Z?
Yeah, Gen Z. We're millennials.
Yeah, Gen Z.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of them want to climb Mount Everest in the day, save the world, and make $1 million and not work more than 2 hours a week. And that's awesome, but you got to win the lottery to do that. And outside of that, there's a real commitment. And, you know, also as you get deeper into what you're doing, your goals and expectations change, and what you want to achieve expands. And so if you're of the mindset of being entrepreneurial, you're never going to step out of that, right? Like, you're going to keep pushing. You're going to see opportunity and get excited. That is part of the, you know, the really awesome things when it comes to real estate, is the deals and like finding opportunity and uncovering. It's like finding a treasure, you know?
So it's funny that you brought up just now talking about the deals. I know you, so I'm going to ask you this question because I know you so well. One of the things I think you love about real estate is the thrill of the deal. And you didn't mention that so far, but I want to hear it because you and I have talked a lot over the years of that being the drug of the business. Like real estate, the drug of real estate is the thrill of the deal. And I want you to talk to me a little bit about that.
So you're 100% right. And whether it's on the lending side and having a conversation with someone, especially when it's difficult or they are not knowledgeable on the stuff, and it really takes a lot of patience to communicate what and how they can move forward and what the challenges are and how we can help them, but being realistic about what's going to be done. I love that. Like, it's a big win, you know, when we're able to move someone there. So that's pretty rewarding. And then just like, it's the impossible deals and putting them together is what like gets me juiced up. And you guys know, because like I'll get something and I will be like hyper focused and like, we got to do this. We got to figure this out. We'll pull this in, we'll do this and we'll do that and we'll make it work.
That's definitely got to be the rush that
Yeah.
I think all of us love.
Well, that's
why
what I'm
I
saying.
keep coming back.
That's what it is about real estate. It's doing the undoable. There's something really interesting about it. So tell us right now, what, if you had to look back on your storied career, what is the deal, whether it was lending, something you did for yourself, sold, built, whatever, what is the one that comes straight to your mind that goes, that is the most thrilling thing I ever did in this business?
Yeah, it could be Lucern.
Yeah,
when
Alpha,
you were a
Lucerne,
realtor,
personal,
Alpha.
whatever it is. Like
Personal.
what jumps right out at you? And it could be something silly. Like I bet you it's going to be something small. Like I remember I sold a house for $50,000 and it was only worth 20. Like I don't know. It could be something silly. I don't know.
Well, I'll give one in real estate because I actually think the best one is outside of real estate, and I can touch on it if we have time. But I would say probably the first flip that I did, and the reason why was, as you get to know me, like I do want to try to help. Obviously, I'm looking to improve the business, but I've always been about long-term relationships, and so I was like kind of timid about getting involved in a flip, and I became really knowledgeable in this little area close by my office, and they had a lot of capes, and there was a big influx of new population coming in that was driving values up, and it was like really good opportunity. Anyway, I called up this woman. She had a for sale by owner. And I said, I'm a local agent. I know you're probably getting a lot of calls from folks. And, I wanted to reach out because, I'd love the opportunity if it didn't work out to help sell. And even if you do sell and you have questions or want something, I'm willing to make some deposits to you and help you out for nothing else. That if you felt I helped you and someone else selling, I'll take care of you. So she was like really interested. And then she said, well, I have a lot of offers. So I started to ask her what the offers were. And she's trying to figure out which one to take. And at the time, I think the highest offer was like 175. And I thought to myself, holy crap, I'd love to buy this house. I'd pay 190 for the house. I said, I also buy houses, and not that was my main purpose to call you, and I just was making it up on the fly. Like I knew I wanted to buy something. And then I was like, I would be interested in buying it as well. I mean, maybe I can, come up with a good number that would make sense. She goes, you know what? You're exactly the type of person I want to sell my house to. So I was like blown away. She's like, why don't you come over and you could take a look? And because have this nice component or want to make sure I do right by people, I said, I can justify paying up to $190,000, and I want to pay that to you because I'm thankful because you're giving me an opportunity to do something that I've wanted to do. And we made the deal. I made a lot of money, close to six figures at that time was a lot of money for me. And I was like blown away. And so like the excitement of that was awesome. And it just kind of opened my eyes up to how different the world could be than the way I've been looking at it up to that point.
It's interesting you say this because I feel like talking to our clients every day, I feel like they almost miss sometimes a little bit of that thrill. Like when they've either been in the business for too long or they're just starting off. I feel like the people in the middle still have that. But on opposite ends of the bookends, I feel like they miss the part where this is exciting.
Yeah.
And they're always driving for, I want the best deal. I want the best this. I want the best that. But they miss the part where like, this is an exciting thing to do. And the money's there already. It's like usually it's splitting hairs, $1,000 here, $1,000 there. Nothing, never like big numbers, but they miss the thrill and they kind of let go of the excitement that comes with doing a deal and getting it done and selling and getting the check and all those pieces. And, I think it's important to remember those moments where we're like, this is why we do this.
And it's easy to fall in the trap of not being excited. And we've had these discussions before, right? Like, with Lucern, we've had some incredible achievements. I mean, the idea of like, if I went back to getting into real estate, the idea that I was buying a $40 million property, or I'm personally signed on almost $100 million in debt for the assets that we have, there's equity. And like, we would sell an asset and have a big win, and maybe the broker would get us like a deal, memorial thing with the stuff. And at times I didn't feel feeling that. I was like annoyed at myself. I'm like, how come I can't feel excitement about it? And then what's interesting is out of that, like I had some loan stuff where it wasn't even a big deal, but it was like the problem solving challenge and then getting a result right away is what like really hits me. So like I found ways certainly to enjoy and be thankful and beneficial for that. But sometimes, it's another good reason to have partners. Like you have someone to celebrate with and to lift you up when you're feeling down, vice versa, or you can commiserate together, whatever you want. But yeah, it's an interesting piece.
So I want to bring our journey up to Lucern, right? So we've covered the beginning of Dave. You just mentioned Lucern a second. So the last thing I want to chat about before we get into the journey to Lucern is, so we had Mark Colazzo on a couple episodes ago, and we got to hear a little bit about his start in real estate. And he got to tell his version of the story of Alpha. Now, you mentioned it a little bit in your intro, but the way he mentioned the version of Alpha was it was a sure fucking thing. It was like, I met this guy, Dave, we figured out this thing, and boom, we have a lending company and life was good. You mentioned it just now a little bit different. And I think perspective, partners, this is always perspective a little bit. Tell us, how did you feel 15 years ago, the beginning of Alpha? Did you feel like we've unlocked something, this is incredible? Were you apprehensive? Like, I want the David Hansel version of Alpha, and we're going to match it up. Maybe in one of our end of the year episodes, we'll match up Dave's version of Alpha and Mark's version of Alpha and see what we get out of it.
Well, sure. So, I mean, we both came from very different places, and we had partnered on some new construction projects and fix and flip. I think my gut knew that this was a huge opportunity, right? But I knew that we had to get a decent amount of volume. We'd have to raise a lot of capital. And so there were moments of doubt, like, because what was happening was I actually pulled myself back from the brokerage side to build this out, but there wasn't really cash flow at the time. And although I had saved money and I had some successes on some of the flips that were able to pad my bank account a little bit to take that risk, I was nervous about it. I believed strongly that this is a great opportunity. I just wasn't sure how long it would take to get to a point where it was sustainable. And I actually didn't know until like a few years in, like, holy crap, not only are we doing this well, but there's a much bigger opportunity. And like part of it was bringing on and, you know, having you guys come in and really, I mean, you guys were a huge part of getting the company well organized, being a well-oiled machine, and growing our brand and our presence. And it was something like super passionate about. Like Matt and I were hitting events every night of the week or whatever. But I was a little nervous. I was excited. I did think it was a needed stuff, but also at the time the market was depressed, so there weren't a lot of borrowers, right? So the first 2 years, it wasn't like we were able to put out a lot of money, and thank God we weren't, because I would have had a heart attack trying to raise all that money in the beginning. You know, now it's a lot easier to raise money because we've had the years of experience and relationships. So it matches up somewhat with Mark, but maybe a little divergence. You know.
Well, I think the end result matches up, but I think the attitude going in is what's different. You know, I think he felt, at least from our interview, he felt very confident on the way in about Alpha.
Well, he already had the title company.
Yeah.
And he had already, you know, he had the restaurant, I think, at that time
but I think
already.
He committed a lot to Alpha in the beginning also. And I think it's just interesting, the perspective shift, like two people coming at the same business. Like, what does that look like? And I think it's a really exciting way to look at everything. Like, there is different, even in successful businesses, there's always multiple ways to come at it. So.
One thing I really appreciate about Mark is that he has a lot of conviction.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes that can be very comforting. You're, I think, more of the realist. You're the one that will wear your emotions on your sleeve. I'm that way. I think Mike is a lot that way.
And
I think that's where I think that's where.
And you know what, though? I think that's what. Well, I always joke that sometimes we may have beer goggles for our own business, but I do think, and I've heard so many times over the years, this is something that's super rewarding. Like the guys at Alpha are good guys. They're going to take care of you, whatever. Maybe we're not the best pricing and leverage on a particular deal or whatever. And you know, we're humans and we've done thousands of loans. So like, I'm sure there's some borrowers that have some different perspective, but in general, the takeaway in the community that we live in is like, they'll treat you right. They're transparent and upfront. And that, to me,
that's what it's all about
in any business.
It's not about the money.
Who we are,
yeah,
we wouldn't have built the business that way, right? And I think that's what makes us sustainable. Like there's always going to be down times. The market economy is like not in the best place now, but we're still doing well and continuing to grow. And a lot of it's based off of these relationships that we vested.
This is where I want to kind of go off a little bit. I have some things I want to go over. Specifically, we were just talking about it's not about the money, and it's not. I care more about the money. My dad used to always say to me, no matter what happens to you, money will always come and go.
Yeah.
Your character, your reputation, you can always make more money. I want to be known as, like what you just said, when people say that we're the good guys, I want someone to say that they're good people.
Yeah.
They do the right thing. That's what
Yeah.
I care about. So my question is, what I want to lead into with you is, what do you want your legacy to be? You know, you've built all these businesses. You're a family man. You have 2 beautiful girls. You have a wife, family, friends. What do you want that legacy to be?
I think that he had a good impact on the people that he worked for, with, together, whatever it may be, that, you know, that I had a positive impact on their lives. And that, you know, that my family also thinks that I have, you know, provided them and filled their cup with the things that they need. And that's some, you know, like I said before, there was some years where I was working so much that I kind of backseated some of that. So I've put a lot more emphasis, especially after COVID, into that. And it's been rewarding and feeling more fulfilled in that aspect of my life. But it's just about someone that tried to share knowledge, helped other people grow. Was only a jerk once in a while.
What I will say is, I am eternally grateful for you, and I'll say it here on the podcast, and everyone, I want you guys to all know how important Dave is in my life. The reason why I'm sitting in this chair is because you took a shot on me.
Yeah.
And I am so grateful and thankful that you saw something in me. And, you know, obviously it takes 2 to dance. You know, I had to obviously take advantage of the opportunity and grow and work at it, but I'm very,
it's
very
amazing.
thankful.
And I will say that we've had some discussion. I find the most rewarding thing, like when I'm busy with other stuff and like I'm still actively involved with Alpha and helping on the business side, some of the capital side, talking on marketing and strategy. And I still get the thrill of bringing deals in, shoveling the toughest deals down the pipe and everyone getting mad at me.
He's got dirty shoes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Heroes don't always wear capes.
Knee-high boots.
But you know, without you guys, and not to make this a love fest here, I will say that you have what a lot of people don't have, and you know, you could be off the charts brilliant. And a coach I work with asked, "Do you want to be seen as smart or effective?" And there isn't a right answer, but the right answer is effective. And, you know, when I met you and I saw like the way you do everything is you put your heart and soul into it, and you can't recreate that. You can't teach somebody that. And so you could teach people outside of very technical jobs. Like, you're not going to go in and be like, this guy's got a love and a passion. Let's put him in the operating room and take care of this, you know, brain surgery we need done. But in a lot of cases you could be trained, and you really just, you know, you blossomed a lot and make my life easier. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come back to this at the end because I've had a much longer history with him than you. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? This is something I think a lot of people will appreciate and is not talked about a lot. I'm a single guy. I work in real estate. I don't have a lot of responsibilities. You're a family man. You've got your 2 kids, your wife, your family. You've got a lot of people that depend on you. Balancing all of those things, the different companies, all the work that you do, I want you to talk about that. I think speaking from that perspective, being a father, son, friend, everything, how do you balance it all? Because you just said, obviously, there is no work-life balance. But if you had to talk to other people, because it's easy for a guy like me to just wake up, go to work. I don't have a lot of responsibility.
So before I answer the question, I just want everybody to know out in TV land that Matt is single, as he mentioned. And if you know a nice woman that has is a good human being, lives in New Jersey. He's looking for a mate. Anyway,
You can find him at 908
What?
900-4894. Monday through Friday.
he's a good-hearted soul, and he'll take care of you. Anyway, to answer your question, I hear Mike's voice in my head, and he's got his own mentor outside of work, and he always tells him, like, you don't have that balance. You do have some level of a balance, and like I tried to reset after COVID, and I've definitely made lots of improvements on that. But at times it's hard, and it's like, you can set aside certain times in your schedule to work on one company or project, or, setting up time, in your, like, you don't have to tell your family, but setting up time in your schedule where you're going to commit to something, or planning a vacation when you're a little nervous that you don't want to go away, but you need to with the family, and so that you have time that's not interrupted. But it's a struggle.
So I'm hearing a lot of time management, accepting chaos, just understanding that it could be maybe hopefully organized chaos.
I may
and
thrive
making some
in
tough
some of that.
and making some tough decisions at times. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
If I had a family managing all these things that you do, what would the advice that you would give to someone else
Well,
that's looking to get into this and has the family, has
Win
the
the lottery.
responsibilities, has to take the kids to school?
I love to make analogies. I'm going to try one here. It may not work, but I'm the kind of guy that if you gave me 3 balls to juggle, which I can juggle 4 balls, but like the more 3 balls, but if you keep giving me more balls to juggle, I actually get a weird high out of it. So like I push through, and I'm like, I get this weird mental mindset, like I'm going to get this, and this done. And I feel really, really good about that. It's times when you don't have a lot that I actually think it's harder to balance your time. And I'm not sure why, but for me, it's that way. So I think that it's like checking in with your teams every day, understanding what they have, where you may be needed. You also have your own list of projects. I think being organized and like literally, putting everything into your calendar so that you can see your day in front of you, taking a look at that in the morning, decompressing at night, and like kind of setting up your next day is important, because it gives you purpose. Like you get up and you know what you're going to start tackling.
Having, being purposeful, being intentional with your days. Gary Vee says it. The line is, he'll juggle 40 different balls, and people will be like, "Why? You're crazy." But he's like, "Well, if I'm juggling 40 balls and I lose 15, or if I lose 30 even, I still have 15."
Well, I think so it's interesting, because as you look, we're a mid-sized company at best, right? Like it's not like we have hundreds of employees and billions of dollars in revenue, right? And there are folks that do that, and then they buy and acquire other businesses, and they have a massive management team. Like if you think about Shark Tank for a second, right? They make a deal. I'm not sure how many of the deals actually go forward. Obviously, a bunch do. But they built a team to work with the companies that they do. And so that's the way you do it, right? Like part of the ability to go to Lucern, and you guys are now, I one of the other things I was super proud about, like I feel proud that you guys own half the company and that you guys are running it. Like to me, that's awesome. Like but knowing also that you guys, even before you were owners, you cared as if you were an owner, and like that. And I know that if I'm not checking in, probably sometimes you don't even want me to, you guys have got it covered. And so that's comforting. So you build teams. The hard part is building teams and navigating certain markets. Like right now, the job market's tight, and like we have some challenges with labor down in the Carolinas for like maintenance, right? It's just a general issue. So you have to be able to solve for that. But when you have a good team in place, it's easy to kind of build onto something else.
So I want to say something about this because I have a lot of strong opinions about work-life balance, as you know. And I did say that there's no such thing as it. And there's a backwards comment that was told to me. It sounds backwards, but it makes sense. And then how it works is, life is hard. If it wasn't, everyone would do it. So like, you have to realize that to live our lives, to everybody who wakes up and wants to live life, unless you win the lottery, which you mentioned earlier,
Yes.
there's something you have to wake up and do every day.
Do they have classes for that?
How to win the lottery?
Yeah.
I mean, I wish they did.
Joe, our producer, is shaking his head no, as if it was a real serious question.
But I wish they did. I wouldn't be here right now. That's what I would have done. But
Joe's thinking like, how do I sign up if there is one? He's like, I don't think there is one, but I want to sign up for it.
Aren't casinos basically like that? When you pull on the slot machine, you can win a couple $1 million.
I don't know if that's a class on how to do it.
That's just a way to lose your money.
Yeah. But it's you have to wake up every day. You have to do something, and whatever your profession is, like you either going to go and you want to excel in life, or you're going to be happy with getting what you get. And those are the two parts of it. And I think people who are happy getting what they get, they want it to be easier and to make it have the balance. Like, I want to go to my job, and when I leave my job, I want to be at home. And it's like an easy way out of life, right? Like, I only have to focus on life at certain moments. But like, when you are working and you want to build a business, you want to do something great, you want to make something that you don't already have, right? Like, we are people sitting here who didn't have a lot of money, right? You got fired from your job at Marriott in Boston.
It wasn't Marriott, it was the software company. I left
the
Marriott,
software company at Marriott, whatever it was. I just remember Marriott in there.
It's okay.
Whichever. But here, you left Boston, you came back.
You can rewrite my history.
I'll rewrite it for you.
Just make me make some exciting things.
But you came back here. You didn't really have I know your parents, they weren't super wealthy. So it's not like you had a lot to like lean back on. You moved back in with your parents, you came back, and it's like you had to do something. And if you just woke up every day and said, this 9 to 5 is going to make me millions of dollars, you never make anything. Doing a 9 to 5 doesn't make you wealthy. Doing something exciting and different and being entrepreneurial does. And it's like, you have to work really hard at it.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Well, it's interesting because I think getting into real estate on the brokerage side, which a lot of folks do, that's an easy, natural path for people to get involved. And some people are looking at it as just to be an agent, and others are looking at it as a stepping stone to build an investment company or buy properties for themselves. But I think that it's just very, especially for people that are earning a living and they're deeper into their life, maybe they're in their 30s or something, and like taking a risk to risk it all to work in a straight commission-based job is probably not a good move for a lot of people, or they'd be afraid of it. So like, I was kind of trained early to store my money when I had good stuff and live very conservatively in between. And I really have almost my entire life. Like, I'll say in the last couple of years, I've maybe been more lax and treat myself to our family or do things that we want and don't necessarily need. But because of that, it made it easier for me to take other risks, because even as an agent, you're kind of taking that risk. You don't know where your next paycheck will be, right? And so you have to be comfortable with that, whether you're starting a business or becoming an agent. And some people aren't cut out for that. And if you're not, don't be mad at yourself, be true to yourself. And if you are, then jump at it. We go to events all the time, and I'm amazed, like, how many over the years, how many like young people that come out that like maybe barely have 2 nickels to rub together and are committed to getting educated these things and networking, very mature, like beyond their age. And those people are inspiring to me. And a lot of them, some of them today run educational programs. Some of them have very successful companies, 7-figure companies. and that's super cool. Like, so you can do it. It's like being committed to always learning, pushing yourself, and a little bit fearful. You have to be fearful that, tomorrow may not be, not bring what today brought, and you're going to have to navigate that. So you should always be on and always be trying to make things happen, to keep yourself sane and have money to pay your bills and live.
I think a lot of it is understanding who you are. You have to have that awareness. I mean, what we're talking about, being entrepreneurs, running a business, that's not for everybody. There's people that invest in real estate and they do it at a passive capacity.
Yeah.
They do it on the side. They have their, if you have a 9 to 5 and you have that W-2 income and you have a family and there's stability, there's nothing wrong with that. I think what we're talking about is if you're cut from that certain cloth that you thrive, like we were talking about the thrill of the deal, what we do every day, which is grind. We have a lot of challenges, but there's also a lot of successes and wins that come from what we have. It's kind of like a roller coaster, but we enjoy these rides.
I think my thing was more of, if you're that person with the 9 to 5 and all that, but you expect more without putting in more.
Yes.
I think that's what it is.
Expectations is we talk about expectations all the time. If you have to, you have to know yourself, then you also have to have appropriate expectations.
This is a fun topic because I'll tell you that it reminds me of a conversation we had this morning on a challenge with a borrower. But I think that I look back at certain points in my life and expected or demanded or wished or wanted things without really understanding the process and what's involved, and just assume that I could, by sheer will, achieve the goal that I wanted to. And sometimes when you're younger, or you don't have the history, it's a benefit because you're going to push through stuff that, like, someone that has experience would never do. But, a lot of times, folks get frustrated because they're trying to grow and they want to bend the world to their view and how things should work, instead of really listening and talking to the people around you and understanding why something could be challenging or why something would be easier, and then kind of moving in that path. And, like, if there was a type of asset that you buy that you can get great deals on, but you could only get 50% leverage, meaning, buy for 100,000, you get 50,000 from a lender, you need the other 50. You multiply it to $1 million, and that's a $500,000 check you got to bring. Well, even if you're getting a good deal, the leverage, which is a tool that you need to execute on that project, is really bad. Well, then it's like no different than a bad deal in great financing. And so it might not be the right fit. And so sometimes we find people that see that and or just want to will their way to have it be the way that they want. So anyway, I'm not sure I was going with that, but hopefully it made sense.
I think it all works.
Yeah. I want to know, well, I know a little bit about it. I would like for you to also share with the audience. You were talking about one of your biggest wins was actually not a real estate win. Could you share that with us?
Oh, Mikey knows this one.
Yeah.
Mike, do you know? Yeah, I'm going to give you one.
Do you know what? Do you know what I'm
What? There's actually
Does our producer Joe know what this one is?
I don't know.
David's biggest non-real estate win. I wish we had like a live chat.
Besides convincing my very beautiful and sweet wife to marry me.
I was going to say that was definitely Jesse, but
Yeah.
the second one.
The second one. So Mike's going to be like, of course, when I say it.
I'm waiting for now.
It was in the handbag business.
Yes.
So
right.
actually, Mike's sister and I were business partners for a while in a company called Hansel and Gretel.
Great name.
Great name.
Great name.
And we actually, I won't get into the details. We wound up closing shop, being very profitable for silly reasons. But it was the first time I ever raised capital, which has been a huge part of my journey with Alpha and Lucern. I've literally raised, hundreds of millions of dollars for Alpha and for Lucern on the investments there. We've probably raised about $50 million in equity. The other money's been on debt, but we were working on some gift with purchase items to do. His sister had been in the business and wanted to get back in, so I put up some money, and we started calling on old clients of hers and working on designs. Anyway, long story short, we wound up doing they awarded us an order for like 16,000 handbags, which was pretty amazing. But that wasn't the part that got me juiced up. It was literally about half a year later, there was another thing that they were doing, and they brought in other vendors, and they didn't pick our design, but they liked working with us so much, how transparent, how relatable we were, so on and so forth, that they asked us, hey, we really like working with you. Could you do this bag? Maybe we'll change some stuff and we'll give you the order. I said, yeah, no problem. So I thought like, okay, maybe I get 16,000 order. They ordered 215,000 handbags, and I almost passed out in the seat. Your sister and I walked out, and we're literally like crying and hugging each other. We're like, holy shit, we don't know what to do. And then the next thing, I'm like, how am I going to get the money to put this order in? I need like a $500,000 just to place the order, and they weren't giving us money up front. So I ran around like a chicken without a head with a purchase order, having no right to ask people for money. But I said, hey, look, I had 100,000, which was, I didn't have much more to be able to invest in anything. So I was nervous, but I put that up, and, I ran around with this purchase order, and we raised the money, and it was huge. And I'm like, I'm a guy that really is not in the space. And then all of a sudden we built the rapport with these people, and we're able to deliver a product, and they gave us the honor of this. So I was like, holy crap, like that is super, super cool.
Right there's the thrill of the deal.
That's amazing.
It's the thrill of the deal.
And one other one. Then I had come up with some other product ideas that I had personally designed, and we were working with Victoria's Secret on, and they had kept our stuff for years. Not for years, but for like, we came in January, they kept telling us it was with creative. And one of the ideas that I had was a satchel that you could put product in, and you have a drawstring. And I had them do little jewels on the sample that said, your secret is safe. And I thought it was super cool. Well, that Christmas season, I'm talking on the phone. We're outside of Victoria's Secret. My wife's like hitting me, get off the phone. And the whole entire store was littered with these satchels, even in the display. And they based their whole Christmas season around satchels, but instead of using my phrase, they did sexy little thing. They did all different sizes. And my wife was really upset. And it's as foolish as it sounds, I was actually pretty excited about it, because they obviously liked an idea that I came up with. My wife was like, we could have made millions and millions of dollars, but sometimes you got to look at the bright side of the coin. And I felt really proud about that, even though it was like, a kick.
That's a PSA for always sign an NDA. That's what that one is.
Yeah. Well, back then didn't even know about it. I was too young. Well, not that I was too young. I didn't have the knowledge of the people around me. And Victoria's Secret probably wouldn't have been holding the meetings with me if I told them, you got to sign off on this NDA before I come in. But maybe they would have.
So I want to ask you a few more questions, and then we'll kind of wrap up from there. And so we've talked a lot about Alpha. We've talked a lot about you, a lot about Alpha. You've mentioned Lucern a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Lucern, kind of high level, what it is, what they do?
Yeah.
Because we really haven't spent any time on that.
Sure. To simply put it, we buy more like institutional type real estate, like large format apartment buildings, larger warehouses. And we we purchase them, we manage them, and improve the value on them by increasing rents or cutting expenses or adding additional square footage, whatever it may be, to create revenue for our company and the investors that we bring in to help us buy them. So we have a very large pool of retail investors that will review deals as they come through, and it gives them an opportunity to deploy capital into these apartment buildings that they normally wouldn't have access to and take a small share, but they get the benefits of the income, the depreciation, and all the gains that we've had. And, over the years that we've been doing it, we've built a very, very successful track record and a really good reputation in the markets that we're in. And so our goal is to continue growing that and providing investors and our company a way to earn revenue off of these assets and being good operators.
All right.
That's great. So what you're talking about as opposed to Alpha. So Alpha is a debt company. We provide debt to individuals. Lucern's more of an equity company. You're buying things, you're owning them, you're allowing other people to own them with you. So a little bit different.
Yes.
Different businesses. So now that so how long has Lucern been active for?
It's about 6.5, almost 7 years.
Okay. So you've had Alpha that's been around for 15. You've had Lucern that's been around for about half that, 6.5, 7 years. Being on both sides of that coin, being on one business that's equity and one business that's debt, which one do you like better?
Well, I think...
By the way, this is a test about partners because he has different partners in each business to see which one he's going to make angry.
I'm not going to make anyone angry. I think I actually think that there's parts of both businesses that I really enjoy that aren't in the other, right? Like I love the thrill of the deal, which there's a lot more deals happening on the Alpha side, and there's quick problem solving type issues that go on, and it's a very instant gratification business, and it's a lot more involvement, and I enjoy that part of it, like being at events and doing things of that nature. On Lucern, I like that at times it's not as crazy as it is at Alpha with the heavy volume, because Alpha is a big volume shop, and Lucern, you're not going to, no one in that space is transacting, hundreds of times a year, right? We're doing hundreds of loans a year. So I like that, you can build something long-term and see the benefits of it, and you can do short-term stuff and see the benefits. So you get a different reward from each.
All right. So now that you have experience also on both sides and seeing the market on both sides, obviously right now we're in a tough place, probably similar to when you started Alpha, really depressed kind of economy. You were talking about there not being a lot of borrowers, right? What we're seeing is there's not a lot of deals. So seeing both sides, what would you say, what do you see coming in like the near, mid, and long term for the real estate industry as a whole?
So I'll give you my opinion, which is just an opinion, obviously. If I knew my favorite joke, I'd be retired in the islands right now, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I think that the next year to 2 years are going to be like running in the mud a little bit. I think the focus is on holding cash reserves as best you can, getting cash flow, and trying to work on, foundational issues or things that you really structurally want to change in your company to help benefit and enjoy the next upswing. And I'll give a kudos, not that you were even asking me, I'll give you guys kudos because from as we relaunched Alpha, like Alpha 2.0, so to speak, the process and systems and technology that the two of you guys put together, is like a world of difference from what it's like using a cell phone in an old car where you had a brick to like having an implanted phone in your ear. And so it's a time to work on the things, and sometimes it's hard to put that time, energy, and effort in because you want to do more biz development, but it's important during those times because when things pick up, and they will, like this next wave, I feel like every wave as you get older, if you're smart and learn from your mistakes, build good teams, you have the opportunity to make even more each time it swings up. So I'm really, really excited to get out of that muddy piece, but I'm prepared to walk through the mud as long as we need to. And when we get to the other side, I believe strongly that our success will be multiples better than what we've seen. Like, I think Alpha and Lucern have barely scratched the surface of what we could grow into.
I agree. And Mark said that when we had him on, he said it very similar to the way you said it. He's like, every 5 years or every year he reevaluates, and he's like, how am I going to, in the next 5 years, double what I made already up to this point? And his explanation was that he's smarter, he's learned lessons, he's able to, shave maybe some fat around the corners. And because of that, now he can make more a lot quicker. And I think what you're just saying is hopefully in the next couple of years, because of all the things we've done, last year we were really that plane that we were the plane taking off on the runway, and we were building the plane at the same time. This year, I really believe that we've invested heavily, and we're going to continue to do so in relationships. Now that the plane is in the sky, now we're really developing these relationships in this time where it could be a little bit more difficult.
It's kind of like a forest fire, right? Like, they're needed and they're purposeful to help clear the land and replenish, and it could take many years, but it's like kind of the Earth's way of healing itself. And when the market goes down, you start to invest time and energy and money sometimes, if you have it, but we do, into opportunities to grow and improve your company. Why? Because you're trying to figure out, how do I make money now? How do I improve and streamline some of the stuff to do so my overhead's lower? How do I structure my capital so it's a little bit better, that I can either pass on and win deals on not just service and but on the best pricing, and also to try to improve your margins. And so I think during these times is where those important seeds are planted and grown, you know?
One last thing, and we'll start to wrap up here. I actually want to share with everybody, Dave, you recently were at Augusta National. You were at the Masters, right?
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the hat.
Yeah, I
I'll
should
show on the camera.
Makes for great radio.
Not on podcast, but if you're watching our YouTube, you should definitely subscribe to Alpha Funding and check out our YouTube channel. But this is the hat that David got me, and he got Mike one. And how was the experience?
So it's funny, as a business owner, sometimes like in that mindset, you look at stuff from operational efficiency. So the event was awesome. I'll touch on it in a second, but from an operational efficiency play, like, it's like Disney World on steroids. Like, everything is perfectly coordinated. People everywhere, friendly in the bathrooms. Literally everything's got aisles and walkways to stuff and natural flow. Like, the food venue, everything is incredible. But it is just, without sounding corny, magical. I mean, the grass is so incredibly green. Like, you don't see divots. Like, they come in at night and they repatch it. It's like, and the landscape, every part about it, and just being part of a historical event like that is so cool. And then obviously seeing, some of your famous golfers that you like to watch on TV. That's cool as well. So I had a blast. And one of the other really cool things, which I want to say I might be one of the only people in the world to do this, and maybe I should be in the Guinness Book of World Records for it.
Oh boy.
Is,
what could it be?
Well, it's not that great of a story, but we did we played a course the day before called Palmetto, which is very exclusive, hard to get on. They open up 1 week out of the year during the Masters. It was designed and built by the same person that did the Masters course at Augusta, and really beautiful, not as beautiful as Augusta, but I had newer shoes and my feet were killing by the third hole, and I literally played this famous course barefoot for 15 holes. Like, whether I was in the sand, by the way, the grass felt great on your feet.
I can only imagine the sand, the beautiful grass.
I think it actually improves your mechanics too when you swing.
Your feet, you actually get better. It's like I was reading about it in an article, not to get off on a fitness thing, but the sneakers, if you're wearing sneakers that are very padded, it actually is not good for your feet. Your feet need to feel the ground. If it's, putting a little bit of pressure on the inside of your foot or outside of your foot, if you're not feeling the ground, connected with the ground, then there's the whole mental part of it about being grounded.
I did, as we knocked into other people as you're coming up fairways, and I'm walking over looking for my ball.
They're like, who's this guy with that shoe?
They're like staring at me.
Barefoot here.
But it was a very cool experience. I encourage anyone that plays golf to do a round this year barefoot. Maybe start on hole 2 because the starter probably won't let you off.
And then my final question, I asked Mark this. What is your number one club? If you're going to pull one club out of your bag, what's the club? Favorite club?
I think it's like my 3 hybrid.
I feel like this is the most difficult question we've asked them this whole time.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the 3 hybrid or the pitching wedge. I mean, the 3 hybrid, like I could really screw up on my drive sometimes, but I can kill the ball as long as I have a decent lie, and it feels great. And then also doing, like a nice approach shot with the pitching wedge. I feel like it just feels great when you do it.
What about you, Producer Joe? What's your favorite club in the bag?
Was the 4-iron, but it's starting to be the 3 hybrid.
So he said it's the 4-iron, but now he says a 3?
Hybrid, both of them.
3 hybrid.
4-iron is like...
If you asked 1,000 golfers what's their favorite club, how many do you think would say a 4-iron?
Not very many.
Nobody.
It's like I got handed down clubs, and 4-iron was like my favorite club.
Yeah.
I haven't even used the 3-wood yet.
Yeah.
The 4-iron, my 3-iron, I hit it against when I was in my younger days playing golf. I would swing it and hit it against the cart, so I can no longer use my 3-wood. My 3-iron. But my 4-iron is the next club, the flattest face. So, if I need to hit the ball far with accuracy, I use my 4-iron. It's a great club.
You'll probably never get putter. No one's ever going to say putter.
Yeah, no one's going to say putter.
I doubt that.
All right, Dave. Well, thank you for.
Well, 1 second. Hold on. I wanted to come back to tolls. I said I'd come back to something because you were having a little love fest with Dave there, and I wanted to say this.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure we got through a few things. But what I do want to say is, as we wrap up, as Matt got to say thank you to Dave, I also want to say thank you. I've actually personally known Dave since I was 15, so I'm about to be 36, so just a little over 20 years.
Wow.
And I've worked with you now for 10 years. And I will say thank you. There is a lot of risk you have to take with people around you, and you don't always know how it's going to work out. When I came to work at Alpha, I had just got laid off from a job. I was broke. I was traveling, spending every last dollar I had. This guy was calling me on a cell phone that wasn't working because I wasn't here. So I was getting none of these voicemails. I come back, I get all these voicemails. I maybe hadn't spoken to you in months. And you're like, you have to come work for me. I had no job. I said yes. So I came to work, and
I track down your brother all the time. You got to get Mike to work for me. I'm like, when I have something on my mind, I get it.
And I was gone for months. So I come back, and you're like, you're going to come work. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do for you? And he goes, I have no idea. I just know you need to come work at where I work. I'm like, okay. I'm about to start a job where I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. I have no idea what they do, but supposedly this is supposed to be the place for me. Fast forward 10 years, and here we are.
Now you're the CEO and an owner. But I'm kind of like a brother, because your brother for your first job just dropped you off at a pizza place when he told you he's taking you out for your birthday. So
that is true. I was 14 years old. My brother's like, we're going out. I'm like, this is really exciting. And just mind you, my brother's 10 years older than me. So he's in his 20s at the time. Takes me to the pizzeria he used to work at, and he puts an apron on me, and then he goes, I'll pick you up at 8. And I'm like, what? He's like, this is your new job.
Was he taking you out for pizza?
That's what I thought was happening.
That's so funny.
That's not what actually happened.
I got my start in a pizzeria as well. Yeah. My brother gave me a shot. I started with the phones, and I was delivering pizza.
Your brother probably didn't dupe you in to think you were going out to doing something fun, and then just drops you and says, you're working now. This is a job.
Yeah. But this is kind of what happened with Dave. So I start the job. For whatever reason, he couldn't be in the office with me in the beginning. He left me with Mark, who I met one time before this. And then the only other person there, her daughter had like appendicitis. So I was left with Mark for 2 weeks. No idea what my job was. No idea what the business was. No idea who this guy was. And I just left with him for 2 weeks.
We're gonna wrap this up because we've been on for a while. But tell me, how was that with Mark for 2 weeks? You said you barely met.
That was tough times. I still
What
I
was
still
it
have
like?
my notebook. It was tough times.
What was it like?
I don't know if he was just trying to project that he was like really like in charge, but he used to just be like, I'm only going to tell you things once. And he used to slam his hand on the table a lot when he would tell me things, even though like I was taking furious notes when he was talking, and he'd be like, I'm only going to tell you this once. And I'd be like, all right.
He was an alpha.
Yeah,
an
he was
alpha.
definitely an alpha. But I want to say thank you. You have to take risks. You took a risk on me, just like Matt was talking about. And a decade later and 20 plus years of friendship later, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate the opportunity you gave me to be sitting here right now.
So nice. So nice. I'd give you a hug, but I have this microphone in my way. But maybe when we get off TV here. Anyway, I thank you to you guys too. It's a kumbaya mutual feeling, and we couldn't have done it without each other. So
Absolutely. So thank you, everyone.
And thank you again, Dave, for sitting down for an interview. Where can they find us next, Matt?
So you can find us. Well, I would say it's right now. We just passed Memorial Day, so we're looking at. I think we're going to be coming up on Pitbull in Atlantic City
in June.
Yeah,
and we're going to be trying to drop we're trying to work on some consistency. We're going to try to drop the podcast the first week of every month. So hopefully this one worked.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned for next month. But we definitely will be at Pitbull in Atlantic City. All of the national lenders, regional lenders, local shops, real estate investors, brokers, everything in between. It's going to be an amazing event. Normally, every year they hold it in Miami. It was in Key Biscayne this year. They also do it in Texas and also in Las Vegas. But this year, we're doing it in beautiful
good old Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. So,
all right, so that's where they can physically find us. Where can you find us on the podcast?
Yes, you can watch us on YouTube. You go to the Alpha Funding. You subscribe to our page. All of our podcasts.
YouTube.com/Alpha Funding.
Yeah, I think you just go to YouTube, type in Alpha Funding. You'll find us. You'll see our nice, pretty faces. And then also on Apple, you can, if you are someone who has an iPhone, Apple Podcast, Spotify, definitely. If you're on Spotify, subscribe, like. If you want, put a review out. We'd really appreciate it.
And if you're watching us on YouTube, we try to find us on a podcast app and subscribe to us. Really, really great for our feedback.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Have a good one.